What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back as always. We got Ricky Hamilton back on the set, baby. What's going on, man?
Dude, I'm back in Mario's podcast. I'm back in the Fudge effect. Like, I don't know where the excitement is except for just on my side.
Dude, so I believe, I don't remember if it's the exact day, 365 to the day, but I do know around this time last year is when you came on.
Yeah, it was wintertime. It's probably been a full calendar year since I have made my debut on the Fudge effect. I think I was one of your first people, if I don't remember.
I believe you might have been within the first 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe. And now we're on, I think this is 46.
46 episodes?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's pretty awesome.
I appreciate that.
And I just want to let you know that there is like a very industry, there is a standard industry term called pod fade. And what it means is that there's so many podcasts in the world that, with so many podcasts, a lot of podcasts fade between their first 7 and 10 episodes. So usually that's their the big...
That's their limit where they're like, I can't do this
It's
anymore?
like on standard, most podcasts sort of die out within like the first 7 to like dozen episodes.
Is there an actual statistic for that?
It's kind. I don't know if it's like backed by anything, but it is kind of just like an industry... once you make it through that point of kind of establishing consistency and realizing, oh, this is the effort I have to put in for all of these, that's when you know that you kind of got past your first sort of like barrier or
I didn't
level.
even realize that, but it makes sense because I think in anything in life,
you
go back to working out, you're trying to do a diet or start a diet.
Exactly. After the first 2 weeks, you're just like, you feel so great about yourself, the glorious feeling of like, oh, you're moving life ahead.
That's even if you can make it to past the first 2 weeks.
Exactly. BoJack Horseman had a great moment where it's easy to do it. The hard part is doing it often.
Right.
Kind of. That's not the exact quote, but that's the essence of that quote.
Yeah. No, but that's crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing.
But yeah, pod fade. That it's kind of a term that's been thrown around like in the industry.
Ricky, some people thought I did have a pod fade last summer, and I took it personal. I was like Michael Jordan. Because last summer I was working full time, and I said, I got a bunch of episodes under my belt, and it's crazy. It's not like I even did nothing in the summer. I made a summer documentary. Now it was kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like it was like I
watched the clips. I saw what you posted.
If you saw it, you saw it. If you didn't, you didn't. Type thing. Like it's gone.
Really?
I made it, but it's gone. But I plan on making.
What are you depriving the people of?
I mean, you had people. They had their chance if they wanted to see it. Like I had it up for like 2 months. But regardless, I definitely plan on making more. So like this winter, I'm like trying to like put together a little plan as to like how I can go about a winter documentary, and go from there. But yeah, people thought I had a pod fade, Ricky, and I took it personal. I was like, "Oh, you think I'm done, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, like watch me work." And then I went crazy. I hit up a bunch of people, and it's been fun. It's been a nice process.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard to do something consistently like that. Yeah. And it's just like there's only so much time that you really have,
right?
And especially to be able to do these sort of like passion projects, podcast is a very like simple concept, but there is still work and effort to have to put into rather than just like scheduling, putting in the time, editing it in post, putting it out, and if you want to, and even then you have to, if you want to promote it, then you have to promote it, and it's like sometimes you want to do something different, like sometimes you want to take a break and do that doc. It's even better to like try to divert, put a little bit of diversity in what you're doing. It's going to keep you, it's going to keep you on your toes.
Right.
So, but I didn't believe it for a second. I heard the rumors. I heard the rumors of the Fudge Effect podcast, but I didn't believe it. I knew you were coming back. I knew you were going to come back even stronger.
Heard the rumors. That's funny.
No, but I was talking to Mario before this started, and I mentioned, I was like, I just felt like I was just, me and him were going to enter the octagon with this one. Because it's just, you have such a different like aura about you when I like the second time around coming in. Like Mario was looking me dead in my eyes, being like, "Ricky, you came in when I was just a rookie. I'm a little bit more seasoned now. We're gonna be able to get it." and I'm like, I'm kind of intimidated going into this.
No,
but not really. Like that intimidation stems from excitement.
Yeah,
it just seems like it's so clear how much you've grown and just gained a sense of comfort with doing this.
Yeah. No, and you're right, because the first, I think, 5-10 episodes, I was very stiff, but at the same time, it was like, oh, like if any little thing went wrong, I was like, oh my god, like,
it's a new thing. Yeah, it's a new thing to have to get over.
Right.
It really the hours mark is really does like hold value in the sense of trying to mastering something is that you really just got to put the work in.
It's true
because it is there is so much comfort in there's so much of it is comfort when it comes to doing this kind of work or doing this kind of thing because like for anyone who doesn't know what I do, like I work at a marketing company and I'm the podcast director over there. And something that I try to stress to new people that go into it, especially people who don't necessarily have like performance experience or like entertainment experience, is sort of is like asking them and letting them know that coming in with an idea is really going to help them, and also not be surprised how much level their expectations, because it's all so simple just talking to someone in front of talking to someone casually, but the moment you're in front of a microphone, there's just like, especially if you're by yourself, because some people like to do them by themselves, it's just you, the microphone, and it seems like just a total void in between.
Oh my god!
And this sort of pressure of knowing that everything you're going to say is going to be documented, is going to be listened to, is people are going to have their opinions about what you say, like you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. And it's very intimidating at first to kind of start doing microphone work.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. I thought it would be simple, but yeah, I've told you,
it does take practice.
It does.
It really does.
And especially that's why it can be hard sometimes when you get someone that you might not necessarily know as well, but they want to come on, because then once they're in front of the mic and the camera, which they've never done before in their life, even though they want to. It
hits you like a brick.
It does.
You really don't know until you know.
Yeah, for sure. And no, but I will say this: as nice as it is talking about the Fudge effect, hey, shout out the podcast. We need to hype you up for a second because
what are we doing?
For those that don't know who this is, this man is one of the faces from CCSU, absolute big time actor and director. I'd like
to hear what you define as big time in either one of those.
Big time in my eyes. But one of the greatest improv members of Schlock during his heyday. This man's a stud. For those that didn't know, or if you remember him from the first episode, you remember for him kicking my ass in Zip Zap Zop, which was fun.
I'm looking to bring it back. I was gonna save it, but that is gonna happen. That's gonna come.
No, but it's Ricky. It's been fun because I'm doing improv right now. Well, not like the club, but like class with Wes, and it's been really fun.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah. So it's.
And I would definitely recommend, because we're gonna go in a very similar tangent about improv, but we did talk a lot about that in the first episode as well.
Right.
And if you're interested in knowing like a little bit more about me, of course, always tune into the Fudge Effect. If you need another excuse to be able to go back in the archives, this is one of them.
Right. But
yeah, no. So Mario, you're in the improv class.
I am, and it's been interesting learning from a very seasoned vet compared to student leaders, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Like I feel the difference, and
Mario just said to me like, "Yeah, Ricky, like you're good and all, but Wes,
you were
absolute professional.
You guys are great, but it's true in a way because let's say we would do a scene in Schlock, or like just like in the room, and we were having fun in the game. Everyone would laugh, yada yada yada, and after it'd be done. You sit down, next group up, or like next game. Yeah. And as soon as I'm done with my scene, this man Wes will say, and for those once again that don't know, Wes is one of the
Wes
teachers,
is the improv professor.
Improv, yes, and he will say, "What did we take away?" He'll look at like the rest of the class, get their input. And then he'll say his input, and he'll critique everything, whether good or bad. And it's like fuck, like it's actually, and it's just a class. But I'm kind of in there, like, oh my god, like if I was an actor, I would be disappointed in myself, big time, you know. And it's been interesting, but I've been having a lot of fun. But I will say, I kind of feel rusty, Ricky.
Yeah?
Compared to 2019, I feel the rust. It's kind of like no, it's like no, I will never compare myself to Michael Jordan. He's the GOAT. But like I feel like Michael Jordan when he came back from taking a year off playing baseball.
Yeah.
And I'm back in it. I'm like, oh yeah, Michael Jordan, of course. Like, it was gonna be a piece of cake. And I come back and I'm like, oh, I gotta recondition myself.
Well, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I felt the same way when I started that class. And
seriously?
Yeah. Well, it's because, one thing I want to mention is that because I was very fortunate enough to take that class too. And I took it in my senior year. But I think it was the first improv class that he taught at Central.
Oh, wow.
So I think, so there was certain points where, like he had his sort of like goal and expectations, and then just because of like how the semester goes, you're like, okay, maybe we need to like slow it down. He was still sort of like experimenting with how he was going to teach that class.
Yeah.
So I would love to be a part of like what his process is right now that it's a little bit more refined and he's more familiar with the Central community. But the reason why I felt the same way too is that, well, one thing is that the club and the class teach two different forms. Like we did short form for a lot of clubs.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's, we did short form and he's teaching you how to long form.
Yeah.
Which is like, these aren't really similar, but it is like between sprinting and marathoning, which is like, yeah, they're both running, but they're two different skills.
Completely.
And in terms of just like as an art form, short form is pop music and long form is like, is jazz improv, is like jazz music.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because, so even though I was, instructing and doing a lot for Schlock, I was doing all short form. But when I was in West's class, like now I get to finally sort of practice long form.
Yeah.
And it was a great class and I loved that class. But yeah, I felt that same way. And I felt this sort of like, I put a little pressure on myself because, I love my class. But everyone in my class were athletes and a few theater students. And then there's me who, like, does this kind of thing. So I would think, like, Wes had, like, a higher expectation with me. And I had a higher expectation for myself because this is also something I want to do professionally. And it's really nice because it's really nice having that actual instructor.
It is.
Not an actual instructor, but a professional,
someone
as well,
who's been through the ring. Yeah,
and someone that in that, like with the club, we had to talk about it a little bit and move on, to the next game because we're a club. You gotta prioritize fun, and there'll always be new people, so you don't want to just get into the nitty gritty.
Right.
But in that class, like you're paying to be taught, so like he has that excuse to be like, all right, everyone, stop. Let's get down to the scene. If you want to get better, and he knows, like, you have invested interest.
Yeah.
Oh, Mario, I don't need to spare him in like what I thought about that. Like, I'm gonna make him like really better. Like, he's not just an intro.
Yeah.
But man, no, I've actually ran into Wesley.
Really?
Yeah, I ran into Wesley a month ago.
Was it for that play that happened?
Not.
I believe there's a play a month ago.
There was. Well, it was outside of that. I helped out my friend with his independent production, and they were rehearsing at Central, and I filmed something for him. And on my way out, Wesley was walking out, and I said hey to him, and he could not stop talking good about you. Like he could not. Yeah. He.
Oh, whoa.
He. I don't want to blow the bubble right now.
No, that's actually crazy. What the heck?
Oh no, he couldn't stop gassing you up.
Wow.
Because I mentioned, I was like, hey, my good friend Mario is in your class, and he just gives me this look like, Mario? As if you were a celebrity. It's like Mario? It's like, yeah. I was like, I knew him from when he was a freshman, and he's like, I love Mario. Wow. And I don't want to give you everything.
No.
But he just was like very impressed by how seriously you take the class, as well as how playful you are with the class. Like anything that could, and I absolutely expected it.
Yeah,
I absolutely expected what I heard from it.
That's crazy. I appreciate that. But yeah,
because I don't know if y'all know this, but Mario's kind of been sort of an improv prodigy, an improdigy for
and prodigy.
a prodigy from the start. From Mario's first rehearsal with Schlock, it was that day where me and the E-board had to talk about who was going to perform in the next month, who was going to perform at the show, because it was like that Friday. And one of the members, Zario, he said, I'm not saying for this show, but we got to put Mario on stage. He's like, we got to put Mario on stage. He's like, give him another month, and he's there. And I was like, absolutely.
No, but hey, let's reciprocate the good vibes because for those that don't know, for those that knew me back in high school or before, where they knew the very, very shy version of me, this is one of the people that helped me escape that shell. You were one of the stepping stones, the foundation of me breaking out of my shell, and me, who still to this day has stage fright and ironically hates public speaking, yet here we are.
Yeah, you're growing, man.
Yeah, I guess so, but I would say that day of performing was one of the scariest yet rewarding days of my life. Like, because it truly was like not an I'm here moment, but it was like, wow, I'm really around a bunch of people that truly see me as one of them in a way. And it was cool. That was a very fun day. I highly encourage anybody, whether you want to do acting as a career, whether you just want to play games for fun or you're looking for new ways to have fun, man, just look up improv games. Yeah. Right? Just imagine one night everyone's drinking, have a good time around a campfire or something, and you just find an improv game and you just go at it, pause, but like, you know what I mean? It's like that would be it'd be fun. But yeah, it's crazy you say that, because when I'm in the class, there's some people where I know that they've never done this before, but like we're months into the class, so like everyone has an idea of what to expect.
Yeah.
But I'm in the class and I'm just around these people, and respectfully, I'm like I need to take my game to another level whenever I can, and I don't want to say I hate it, because I would like to say I'm flexible just in any aspect of life. But because sometimes that people don't realize is with improv is what can make a scene successful is also depending on how well your partners are. It can't just be you. You can't be the main character in every scene. Yeah. And you have to work as a team. And sometimes, you'll get the people where you're trying to throw them a bone and they're not taking it. It's like, shit.
That is, because improv is like a form of acting, and one of the biggest rules of acting is giving. Is gift giving is what they kind of put it. And as Wes has probably talked about,
giving and taking.
Yeah, it is. There's so much. Your role and your goal should not be internal. It should be external. Like, you should always be giving your partner something to work off of, because then in return, and if you do it well enough, in return they're going to give you something back. Yeah, and that comes down, and it's hard with improv. With it's funny because acting is the same. There's like there's a different difficulty of it, but it really comes down to listening.
Number one thing
in acting, in improv, in conversations, just like anything in, you could put it in anything in life, is really just listening, is taking yourself out of, there's good, and that comes with comfort too. I think one of the things that you were probably doing, I would do when I first started, when doing podcasting, because you're like a little stiff, is you're planning on what's next, because you're not really comfortable enough yet to go with those motions, right? Yeah. And it happens with improv. You're trying to think of the next bit. You're working. You're like, oh my gosh, how do I be funny? How do I do this? And you don't know what someone is presenting right in front of you. And with acting, it's interesting because you have to keep that listening ear, because you get stale of the lines that you say and they're given to you, and you can kind of get in that motion. But you always got to find a way to keep it original. But that's the biggest thing, is getting yourself out of your head and just like paying attention to what's in front of you.
True.
And that's a very standard thing in improv. Like, that's a very standard first thing to overcome. And I haven't done improv in a long time, and that's gonna, like, I know that's gonna be something that I have to get, especially as like a clinically overthinker like me. That's something that I always have to get better at.
And it's great that you brought that up, because in the first, honestly, month of the class, for the first 10-15 minutes, we were constantly doing exercises to get rid of like the BS factor. Like you are not gonna go into a scene pre-planning something.
Yeah.
Yes. Like we are genuinely like he made it so where you are genuinely. I'm gonna make sure your brains are fried. Like he pretty much fried our brains for the first 10 minutes. Like close your eyes, pretend there's something in front of you, go, and then stop, throw it away, pretend there's something on the ground, go, like type things. So like you're like there's no chance to think, just do. And that was fun. And then a really big thing, and it wasn't just honestly an improv, Ricky. Let me tell you something. This thing that he did, it's so simple. Yeah, I've never truly done it to a point where I open my eyes and I'm like, wow, and obviously I'm gonna tell you. So before we truly start scenes, what he would do is we would all get in our circle, like a just big circle.
Yep.
And he would have us close our eyes, and then we would just like focus on breathing, and then he would say like, how do you feel right now? Like how does your feet feel on the ground? How do your shoes feel on your feet? How does your shirt feel on your back? Like how does your hair feel on your head? Like little things like that, like kind of like a yoga or a meditative experience. Yes. And I'm just
sensory heightening.
Exactly, and I'm just my eyes are closed for this good 2-3 minute period where I'm just like totally becoming one in the space. And as soon as I open my eyes, I'm like, okay, it's go time. Like I'm truly ready.
Yeah.
To go. No, but like it does such wonders. You know, because
to fully focus, to deactivate and turn off.
So let's say you were to, let's say when you came in, we just started recording. No, hello, Ricky, how are you? Yeah. None of that. We just started. Who knows if that's even as good as how we're talking right now? Maybe it's a little more shy or a little more.
Yeah, no, because you gotta warm up, you gotta loosen up.
Yeah.
From the stare that you gave to the energy that you have, that sort of like you have that absolute gladiator energy when I came into this.
I need to see that movie.
I do too.
Maybe
we'll watch it together one day.
Right?
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be funny. Yeah, no, but enough about me. Let's talk about you, Ricky. Because no, seriously though, because a year ago around this time, I remember you said that you were dabbling in comedy, and you were. You know,
I tried to be funny for a little while.
No, but you were giving some things a try, and you said that there was a lot to look forward to in the future.
Yeah,
and that you said that because obviously in life, and just who you are as a person, you hold yourself to a different level.
Yeah,
but it seems like you've been doing really good for yourself. Like, what have you been up to in this past year?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'll start it off with a not with a negative per se, but just because last episode I remember I came back from doing a little stand up for the first time. I did some stand up comedy for a little while, and I dropped. I hopped off of that. Unfortunately, and it was just because
trying is failing, and failing leads to success.
Absolutely, you got to fail forward. I
love that. You have to fail forward, Ricky Hamilton. I love that.
Put it on a shirt. Put it on a poster. But I was trying that for a little. I was doing that for a little while, and the reason why I necessarily just like kind of fell out of it was because I started picking up a lot more on my personal podcast, like the comedy podcast that I work on. I'll mention that, and I want to I was restudying back up on improv, things like that. But that it really just came back down to this sort of there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many hours in a day in a week. There's only so many things you could really especially when you start working full time. And you have, and you start like throwing yourself out there in like the adult world. There's only so many, different projects or different motivations that you could really dedicate yourself to. You don't want to until you start stretching yourself too thin, and then like the whole village suffers. You know what I mean?
Got you.
And so I started starting to get back into like physical fitness. I'm starting to like get myself get like an actual gym routine going on.
Nice.
I'm actually finding ways to, dedicate time to, to my health. What's good about working in, like the video industry is that I'm always moving, I'm always picking up like heavy shit. But it's still, now the difference between when I was in school to at this point is just rhythm and consistency. Is that when I was in school, I'd always just have like only these hour and a half little slots in between. Like, oh, I have, two classes a day. I have like 2 classes today and a club in between, and I eat lunch and I do blah. The fact that I'd have to try to work out at different times every single day would just throw me off, and I'd never find my rhythm.
Yeah.
Now that I work basically like a standard 9 to 5, I'm there, I'm there in the morning, I'm out at night. If I'm going home and I have nothing, if I'm going home and I don't have a deadline that I need to meet, I'm going right to the gym. And It's just now that I can have this sort of like established consistency. I realized that was the biggest thing that was hindering my progress, or just keeping me going. Was
the lack of consistency?
Yeah, like I'm a very scheduled person. A lot of this year for me is now finally sort of sinking my feet into like the real difference of like the adult life. The post-school, post-high schedule, period base.
It's not easy, man.
It takes a while. It really, and especially with COVID or whatnot. It really took a while for me to start like selling my feet and really figuring out like, oh, this is welcome to the rest of my life. Welcome to the rest of
the real world.
The rest of, the real world, experience of everything that you want in life. Like, you have to go out and get it. Things aren't coming back, things aren't laid out before you like we're in school.
It's true.
And this year was really the year of me kind of like familiarizing myself with this new style, and now having to be a lot more like reasonable expectations of how like quote unquote productive I am in comparison to keeping up with a social life. The social life isn't like presented to you on a solid platter like it was in school. Anytime you want to hang out with friends, anytime you want to do something, like you got to make it happen. There's not as much spontaneous, there's not as much spontaneous elements to life, or to like your social life, especially during that time. So like, I'm trying to get used to it all. But in the meantime, like I'm still keeping up with my podcast, which is called The Last Minute with Dustin Wong. It is a scripted satirical news podcast that has sketches and fake art, fake ads, headline jokes, all the above. And even, and I've been producing the show it's going to be 2 years starting in January. Thank you very much. I conquered my own pod fade.
Nice.
And I know for a little while people were also doubting it, but to the total 5 people that still know it's out there, they know what's good. They know what's going on.
Ricky, can I tell you something?
What?
Tell it. Whenever we have haters, we love it.
Yeah.
We love it. We just laugh. I love it when I don't
know. I guess I just like proving people wrong. What can I say?
Oh my God, there's no better feeling. Ricky, there's no better feeling. But let me tell you something, Ricky. It is so good to hear that you admit, it's not been easy, but you've been figuring it out, and you're gonna keep pushing forward. Because I've tried to tell people, because especially when I took my gap year after high school, I think that
I want to say, I would encourage that to anybody. Like, I so encourage...
Especially if you feel rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Especially.
If you feel rushed, and even just post-college, having the first year of living that life without living through... Which is something I love, by the way. Sort of the constructed cycle of the school system of having, like, pure beginnings and ends. Having, like, this sort of, like, wave with everybody else. Stripping you away from all that. That's when I started really learning what I truly value.
And it's when you truly realize like who you are as a person, like what
you're interested in too. So I would, unless someone really is just like on a path to absolute on an absolute like path to whatever objective they want, I would recommend to anybody taking a gap year in school, in between high school and college, especially between college and whatever you want to do after that. I totally, it's a good move. It's something that I think more people are recognizing, especially like how expensive college has become.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to I wanted to throw a bone out there because you mentioned that. Like,
yeah, it's true because I have been talking to some people. So now it's crazy, Ricky, how time flies because now I'm technically in my 4th year at CCSU.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
It's kind of is. It's gonna be crazier when like you're done with school,
right?
For me, because then it's like, oh wow, like how many? Because after like like your year and like maybe even the year after, if that, it's like, oh, my entire generation of CCSU students are practically out.
True.
You're gonna wrap up.
So
how much longer you got?
Yeah, so I'm not done in the spring. Because I've switched my major a couple times. I'm done in the fall. So fall of 23.
So what'd you switch it to now?
So let me break it down, Ricky.
Please,
at first I was undecided business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then I went to sociology for half a year, maybe a full year. I don't even remember.
It's my favorite allergy.
Yeah.
It's my favorite allergy.
No, but it's funny because I had no idea what it was about. I was like, sociology. Sounds like, lots of people things. Cool.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought it was. And then one day I had an advising meeting and the person that was helping me showed me a list of classes and they go, these are the classes that we have to offer. Well, let me know what you think. And all I see is race and ethnicity, gender roles in society. And I have respect for everybody and all causes and beliefs and stuff like that. But I was looking at these classes and I was like, what the fuck? This is not for me. and I told her that. I said,
did you have an expectation of what sociology was going to be?
If I'm going to be honest, I did a little bit of research, but not enough. And I looked at some possible career paths out of that. But I was like,
with that, it's a lot more. It's a lot more. There's not like, oh, you study accounting, you become an accountant.
No.
There's not an A to B with things like sociology or like, those sort of like mind, those thinking, those thinking sort of degrees.
Yeah.
It's you have to make your own way with that kind of thing.
So then I did some research and then I talked to some people and lo and behold, guess who was the person that got me on the right path of all people? Gavin Bassoni.
Of course he would be.
So
the absolute man himself.
Yeah, so shout out to Gavin. But
sometimes it just takes a bro who's just like a one-on-one with one of your bros.
Yeah, so
it really does.
One day I was just playing basketball with Gavin and I go, Gavin, I'm really trying to figure out like my major. Like I don't know what I want to be. And he goes, dude, I'm a communication major. Why don't you do that? Communications. Why, what's that, Gavin? He goes, oh man, like it's a nice general major. You can get into many different paths with a communications major.
Yeah.
And I go, tell me more. and then he he talked about it and I looked at the classes and I looked up certain professionals and what their majors were back in college and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a communications major. And I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And I went right into it, and I've been a communications major ever since.
Mario, I got to say to anybody, if there's to any director, to any producer, to anyone working in advertising at all, if you need, hire Mario for any advertisement you have. Not only could he be the guy who pitches the thing, but he could be the actor that goes, really? Because the amount of interest that you, even when you're just pretending, is just so intense and so sincere. You're just like, wow, hilarious. Really? Communications, what's and then with the man's eyebrow you go, what's that all about?
Yeah. No, but it's true. I was like, dude,
hire Mario for any ad. He's gonna bring it home, whatever you're selling.
Oh my God, I would love to read some ads. Hit me up. I'll send you some sound bites of me for your podcast.
Mario, don't threaten me with a good time. That's gonna happen. I'm throwing you
serious.
In. Dude, you're gonna be on the pod. I'm gonna get you as an actor for the pod.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome, Ricky.
It would be absolutely incredible.
That would be amazing. But yeah, I went to communications, and now we got another year left. So, great question. That is to be determined.
I see.
Here's what I will say: is that I don't like being cocky, but I would like to believe in myself at this point in life, compared to what my past self never had, is confidence. Right. And what I can confidently tell you, Ricky, is that while I might not have any idea what the future holds in store, I know that I'm going to take it day by day and everything will figure itself out. That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah,
so
trust future Mario.
I do. I have trust in him, and it's crazy because I was literally telling somebody who came on not too long ago. I was telling her that back in 2018, I was taking a psychology class, and the teacher made us write a letter to ourselves 5 years in the future. Yeah. And she kept those letters that everybody wrote, and she will be sending them to us in 2023. She always says that people forget about the letter. I haven't forgotten, Ricky.
Dude, I did the same exact thing when I was a freshman in high school.
And every time I remember, I just think back to that poor kid who was confused, who had no idea the people that he was going to meet, the connections he would make, and that he would even be doing a podcast.
Never forget how far you come.
Exactly.
Never.
And every time I remember that moment, I'm like, there's just no way I can fail. Does that make sense? Now, that doesn't mean that I won't have setbacks. Everybody's gonna have setbacks and bad days. Just because it's a bad day doesn't mean it's a bad life.
Absolutely not.
And I truly believe that everything will figure itself out. But one more year left at Central, and we'll see what the future holds in store. But I think, like I said, with the gap year, I know what to expect, and it's not going to be easy. And you've talked about it. Life comes at you real fast, because I've talked to some of my coworkers, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait to graduate in the spring." And I go, "Why? Tell me why." "Because I'm done with school. I'm fed up with it." And I go, "Okay, makes sense. But what are you looking forward to after school? What's so exciting? Tell me. I'm curious." And then the more and more questions I hit them with, the less they have to say. And I go, here's what I recommend. What I recommend you do is, while, yeah, obviously the goal is to make as much money as possible and to do it in a job that you genuinely like. That's definitely something that you want to do. But also try and find something that you genuinely just enjoy doing and can pass the time doing. For me, it's the podcast. For you, it's your podcast and or any other projects that you make, because I know you're creative as hell, right? So that's what makes life even more fun once the real world hits. It's, okay, let me be the shoe collector that I've always wanted to be. Let me be the card collector, or let me start my own website or page or business, a salon. You know, I don't care if I get into debt. I'll make a profit at some point. Little things like that. You know, I think that's when life really begins. When you truly accept, I'm not perfect. I have flaws, just like anybody else. But I'm gonna do what I love, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. What do you think about that?
I think there's a lot of truth to that sentiment. I think there's a ton of truth in that, and there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different ways that I've kind of encouraged other people to do the same. Like when I was an orientation leader, one thing that
shout out the OLs.
Shout out to the orientation program. I was an orientation leader for 3 years, and that's where my life changed by meeting Mario. But nonetheless, one of the things that I would recommend students going in and freshmen coming in, or just anybody who would ask me for some advice, is that if time allows it, go out and try extracurriculars. Go out and just keep yourself open to trying out a lot of new things, because knowing what and just because that's going to get you closer to figuring out and understanding the true things that you enjoy. Yeah. And along the way, it's also just as important to know what you don't like as it is what you do like.
Very true.
Because then, after finally doing it, because, you can always people can always make a lot of assumptions that they're not going to like, so-and-so. And obviously extreme examples are going to be encountered in that. But you're never going to quite know until you do it. And once you do it, you're going to realize why. Then you got to think to yourself, why don't you like it?
Right.
And the more you learn about that, the more you learn about you learn just as much more about yourself, even more so than if you just stick just in your comfort zone, right? And when you're talking about just the idea of people getting excited to kind of move to the next step, kind of move on from college, and your sentiment of doing find the things that you enjoy. The journey is finding them in that same way. And I'd always like to encourage people to realize that like just moving forward in life is going to teach you a lot as long as you allow it to. You know, there's a lot of, you know, there really is a value in life experience. Like, you know, obviously age doesn't mean everything, but the fact that you know, but the more life you experience, the more you are going to take away along the way. And just, you know, and as long as you embrace that and you don't think you're at your final form at wherever you're at, you're always going to find improvement. You're always going to find something that's going to, you know, give you a little bit more like meaning. And in terms of, I'm sorry that I keep kind of jumping around.
No,
you kind of throw out a very great but a very jam-packed sort of like philosophical statement.
No, by all means, go ahead.
And I'll kind of rotate it back into my life for a second.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
You're not going to find, you know, also expect that you're not going to land your dream job or your dream spot off the bat.
Yes.
Like you're not going to, you know, and it's going to be hard at first to recognize that once you're out of it, and it might, you know, it's going to take a lot of time adjusting, but even the things that you're not necessarily looking for directly, like these sort of steps in between can still, like, you know, really help you. You could still find plenty of fulfillment in that. For example, you know, like I graduated with a communications degree, media, you know, with media studies. You know, I got a degree in like, you know, television and digital production. Mm-hmm. My goal, and it still is to work in entertainment. I want to work in television specifically. Didn't really know how to get there, you know, right? And then I got this job at the marketing company that I'm at. Totally out of the blue. I wasn't looking at marketing in any way. Never thought I would be working in advertising, or at least like as a solid job, until my friend literally messaged me on March 31st, right when I got off the phone from another studio that basically was going to accept me for some sort of like apprenticeship, to say, you know, like, oh, you can like manage the studio or whatnot. Hang up the phone. I'm like, oh wow, my life just changed. Get a text half an hour later from a guy saying, from a friend that I took one class with at Central, and he says, hey, are you looking for a full-time job? April 1st is tomorrow. Is this kind of a joke?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Go in. You know, I go into the office. I, you know, absolutely scared shitless, because to me, and I really was just totally underqualified for the position, did not have the tools that I needed to be, you know, for whatever that they wanted me to do. I just didn't felt like I was, you know, good enough in that sense.
Of course.
But ever since then, working with this marketing company that's just a team of 10, video team of 3, because of this job, I was forced to have to learn everything, you know, to learn everything and take a dip into all of these different assets of videography that I didn't think I needed to do and whatnot. Yeah. And I never thought, I would never think, like, in the beginning of my college career, or even just like 3 years ago, that everything I was going to learn and everything that would really set me up for my next step is going to happen at some little rinky marketing studio in Berlin.
Yeah.
I thought the next step was just going to be me grinding until I make it to Hollywood, you know, like,
right.
I didn't actually think that, but more or less, that's kind of what I thought, was that I'm just going to rock, and then I'll just get picked up somewhere, and then I'm going to start working in whatever project, or I'm going to just make it big on the internet and be able to just produce my own material. Like, no. What really is going to set me up for my next steps was learning all this information that I didn't even know I lacked.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I have it is because I worked in a industry that was completely separate of what I studied, and learning tools and technology that I had no previous interest in learning to be a savant in. And because I was open to it, because I just accepted that job and accepted that there was a lot for me to grow in, now I'm a lot more confident to actually achieve the real goal that I'm setting out for.
The fact that you said yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes, is accepting and agreeing to do something.
Yeah.
A lot of my life, I would always say no. And I think a lot more good has come from when I say yes versus no. But It's very interesting.
A friend of mine actually just said that recently. He's
Really?
it's just the sentiment of just like saying yes more.
Yeah. You ever
know?
see the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
I have not.
Really?
No.
It's a good movie. Mm-hmm. It's nice, but
Hopefully what I said wasn't just an entire platter of word vomit.
No, it completely made sense. But let me ask you this. So, with your mindset that you have now, if you were to compare it to you before college, maybe, what do you think the differences are between Ricky now versus Ricky then? Like, what are there any pros and cons? Did that Ricky have something then that you don't have now, you think?
It's like, well, the Ricky then. Well, no, I'll start with like all the flowers of the Ricky now.
Okay.
I don't want to just get because there are certain cons, and there always is going to be these sort of questions, and I think this is going to be my biggest flaw and my biggest like trial for my whole life is being a glass is half empty kind of guy. There's always going to be like this sort of, well, what if I did just ultimately grind out and do, blah, blah, blah. Like, what if I did just dedicate myself as a performer, blah, blah, blah. But like, let me just start with the flowers. The pros between Ricky then and Ricky now is that right now I am far more capable of what far more capable of what I can do, right? Just my technical knowledge alone laps, when I was getting out of college, the only thing I could really do when it came to being a freelancer was being a freelance production assistant and being a freelance grip, barely, and being a grip is just like handling a lot of film equipment, and this is just like a lot of the grunt equipment, all the stuff you need. But even then, like I don't even, I didn't know all of the grip heads back then. I didn't know all of the, all the types of C-stands,
Yeah.
But now I know all of that. If I go back out in the industry, like I am an operator, I can operate audio. I'm an audio operator. I'm a sound mixer. I can operate camera. I'm a gimbal specialist. I can work in those kind of forms. Editing, so much better at editing now. And the only reason why I'm good at editing is because I have to do it every day at work.
Yeah.
So, in that same sense of putting in your hours, there's certain things. I've always also been like this, and that's why like school was something that like really catered to me, is that I don't necessarily practice things on my own. I have to learn by doing. I have to throw myself into the fire, like crash coursing myself into stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't have like the need to film or to edit or to practice lighting, knowing equipment, knowing how things actually run down. I'm producing small shows for my company and having that reflect on working on the last minute and being able to use the equipment and just the knowledge I know to apply to that. It's like, as a producer, I'm so much more capable than I ever was, or I would even anticipate if I just stuck to performing. However, unfortunate con, as of right now, is that like past Ricky was doing my most natural love or my most natural draw to life. And I've said it multiple times, and it's performing. It's like being on stage or doing a lot of talent related work. Con Ricky was something that, and this isn't because of like job, but like, Ricky in college, like, not to say like I felt like a big deal, but I felt more seen there. And that's just because like they just like being around a community, that's so, like sort of small and compact, I'm able to sort of like extend my arms out to a lot more people, have these sort of, have this a lot more of a reach. And now like, just like the world is just too big for me right now. I don't have that sense of just like communion like I once did. And those kind of things like that I lack, that lack kind of get to me a little bit.
Right.
And I'm trying for my next step is trying to, incorporate getting back out there in that same way. Nice. And there's going to have to be certain sacrifices in terms of either just like my actual, job workload, to have, maybe taking out like slightly my social life in certain ways to be able to perform, which is going to be a totally different social life. So, the investment will pay out. There's always, to as many gives as there are, there's always going to be a take. And I think for me, something that I'm going to have to overcome throughout my life is that, I love, I love the game of life, no doubt. I'm very passionate of a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one, I think that's a very big word when it comes to just like the makeup of who I am. Whatever I do, I find a way to get interested. I find fulfillment. I find passion in the things that I do. And like I make the most out of a lot of the moments that I have, but I still struggle. Like, so even in this like half glass of water, it could be like literally, it could be just be like literally half a glass of champagne could be my life. But I always find a way to sort of lament and think about what the other half of the glass could be like. Like there's always could be a little bit more for me. I could always do a little bit more. But I just have to, maybe if I just, stick it out to doing a certain thing, I could be closer to my true goal, which is like an entertainment. I'm 24, like quote unquote clock is ticking. But I have to like think myself out of these things and remember like so many of the moments that I have in life, a lot of people don't have. So much of the fulfillment I felt in my life, like a lot of people may not have, just because, like I earned, I placed myself or have been placed in certain scenarios, but I've earned a lot of that. Yeah. And I have to try to remind myself, it's like sort of this trust the process.
Absolutely.
What's going to really suck is especially when I start getting older, because I've always had this sort of like comparing myself mentality. I don't have a comparing myself mentality, but whenever you see like new celebrities or artists and they come out young, you're like, oh, they're like my age, it's whatever. But man, I can only tell like if I'm 30 and I'm still like working and I'm going to see like these sort of like quick come up stories of this like 20-year-old, 18-year-old, absolutely like making it to like the light of, like the limelight of fame,
superstar.
Then it's just like, what could I have done? This sort of mentality of, like, what could I have done different? Like, what can I do?
Yeah, I got you. I think at the end of the day, I think that some people, I don't want to say are meant to have a certain amount of success. Just, certain people will get the limelight. Some people won't. But at the end of the day, I think that everybody on this earth has a purpose. Mm-hmm. And I think eventually they'll find it and find their peace at some point through this chaos, especially that is our 20s. Yeah. Because they say your 20s is really like you're building and your platform and the layout for like the rest of your life. But like the 20s,
a lot going on in your mid 20s.
Yeah, dude. Like the 20s is the time where you take those risks and try new things and don't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And don't go conservative and just like, okay, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life, starting now.
Mm-hmm. Hey, a big sentiment that I have in terms of just like the meaning of life is figuring it out yourself.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. That's very well said, Ricky. The meaning of life is figuring it out yourself. So do you think that the meaning of life is pretty much like it's up to your interpretation? Like that's the meaning of life? It's like go through it and interpret.
Yeah, I think that to its core, both good and bad, that is sort of the way it is.
Wow.
And and it could be, and that could be a little bit sort of, I'm trying to think of the word, not enthusiastic, but just like that might be like a flowery sentiment, because like some people do really just like been dealt with an absolute shit hand, or and sometimes just based off of where you're placed. So it might be like a very flowery sense of life, but I think really that's just like what defines existence is figuring out, learning what it is over time.
Yeah. I think the universe can be very cruel but very rewarding at the same time. And I think it's up to us to kind of take those two divine forces and make the most of it, because
Yeah,
Right
and,
now-
and devoid of yourself of certain certainties.
Yeah, because as of,
You know, because a lot of people have like the definitions of life in terms of like, you know, religiously or like a philosophy that life is like this. It's like, well, no, it's not, you know? And the less of those you have, I think the more you could be able to really, you know, find appreciation for what's around you.
yeah, because as of right now, in this given moment in time, we are having this conversation about health and life and just like what the future holds in store and like trying to figure things out. But at the same time, we can just be like, you know, we're just two specks of dust and this rolling ball that's floating through this thing we call space that makes no sense, that we truly have no concept of. And like we're truly nothing when it comes to the vast universe. Like you can't, if you think of it that way, then you're just not going to be able to truly live life. Like we have to,
That is a classic existential crisis.
No, because
my friend,
we have to deal with the reality in which we're given.
And that's actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think that is more. I think this is more of the crux of my statement, because, you know, in the terms of, you know, because I hear, you know, you hear it a lot of the people that's like, oh, the comfort in knowing that life is meaningless, sort of mentality that a lot of people have. I like whatever floats your boat, but I disagree with it, because that's when I start applying my thing. It's like, no, then, yeah, no, like life's meaning is giving it meaning, you know, like create the meaning in your life. You know, things can matter. This is why, you know, things can matter. Things don't have to matter. You know, that's the fun of it, is like putting, you know, trying, you know, really, you know, trying to get somewhere, trying to, you know, achieve or work towards something, whether if it's like achieving in terms of like grabbing something or just finding comfort, you know?
Right.
You don't, you know, sure, you know, existence could, in the grand scale, could be meaningless, but like, why choose that in that certain, you know, in that same way? And, you know, I think a good example of this is, you know, celebrate, you know, like celebrating days, you know, like the idea of holidays. You know, people like to sort of just like punch down on sort of like birthdays or Valentine's Day, or a lot of more of these like artificial holidays, because like, yeah, no, they're just made up by, you know, companies or whatever. It's like, no, just find an excuse once in a while to celebrate, to just have a little bit of fun. You know, it's good to just create an excuse to do something, right?
Yeah.
Especially after college, when you don't have consistent finality that you do. You don't have that in life. And being it, you know, you don't have this sort of like, you know, working towards something, or these little like guaranteed moments like midterms or these shows or having these parties. You know, you got to make that. Yeah. You know, like, yeah, sure, birthdays in self are quote unquote meaningless. Sure, it's just marking that you how long you've been around the sun. It's a scientific measurement to know to know how closer you are of your body dying, right? But like, are you really celebrating? But yeah, like, you know, but are you really like celebrating life every day? Like, are you really taking, you know, are you really like making the most out of your life every single day? You don't have, no. And that's not even an expectation. That's a lot of effort. So it's just good to just come up with a day, or just to find an excuse to just like appreciate life a little.
Right.
You know? And that's not just for birthdays. It could be like Valentine's Day. You know, anyone can mock Valentine's Day, but it's like, take a day to just like find a moment to appreciate your partner. Like, you know, obviously if you have one, or find a day to just like appreciate, you know, try to like treat yourself, you know, in that sort of way.
Nice.
Come up with those excuses, create them, create the meaning that is in your life. Because a lot of people don't even have that luxury. And that's what I was kind of mentioning before. A lot of people don't have this luxury. The fact that I could spend my time talking to one of my friends and then creating it and proclaiming it as art, right? There's plenty of other places in the world that people don't even have that. You know, if you can create the meaning in your life, do it. And I'm sorry now if I'm getting preachy. I am. It's the fun. It's the fun bullshit of life, you know.
Yeah.
It's just bullshitting about like the grand questions.
So let me ask you this: what do you think holds in store for future you? What do you expect out of him?
I expect more. I expect a combination of. I think I'm gonna re-tap into what college Ricky was like, just a little bit more, and keeping, now that sort of more of my learning period is over, having this, continuing to, get myself involved in a lot of these little projects and goals, putting myself out there more on the world stage. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I'm going to get. Because now I'm not saying I've hibernated in any way, but I'm not as outwardly active, and I don't nearly have this, like I said, that same reach like I did in like the pond of CCSU. But I'm going to approach that with the adult mentality, the adult matured mentality that I've grown in the last couple of years.
Right.
And dude, I'm excited for future Ricky. I'm so excited for future Ricky. Like,
that's good.
Rick, I'm only gonna get better. And I think that's the only certainty that I have, is that even in times where I don't feel fulfilled, I struggle with those feelings. But I know that, like, by default, just based off of how I've built myself and I built like the life around me, that things can really only get better.
Right.
Like, I'm going to get health, as I mature, like, I'm only going to get healthier, I think, in certain sense, obviously, like,
yeah, I got you.
A lot of adults are going to laugh at that because obviously, like, my back's going to give out and all this, but, just like, if I, especially like the more that I go to, like, the gym and keep myself physically healthy, like, I'm going to, like, that is going to improve my ability and my, my capability of producing my reputation, hopefully, is going to improve. My talents are going to improve. And, the relations that I have with those around me are only going to solidify more.
Right.
As I get older.
Oh, that's nice. Ricky, I definitely think you're going to figure this out. And one day I'm going to be able to say, I know that guy type thing. Yeah. I think that day will definitely come. I've seen some of your TikToks that you've posted. They're hilarious.
I try. Yeah, man. I try.
The once in a blue moon, whenever you drop, like, me and Gavin have talked. Like, they're funny as hell.
Thanks,
and
dude.
also, dude, your Halloween costume.
Oh my god!
Yeah, right. If I'm not mistaken, you were the Rizzler.
I was the. Dude, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. The Rizzler.
Yeah, have you not heard that one?
No, I haven't.
Really?
I have not.
That's a new one that's going around.
I'll throw out a quick Riz flex. In that costume, I actually got a number by giving someone a riddle at, like, a Halloween party in my Riddler costume. I said something like, I said, riddle me this. What has 10 digits but belongs to you? And it was your phone number. And it's your phone number. And I was like, and I wouldn't, blah, 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 blah. I just totally ruined that whole moment. But it actually worked. But, But yeah, the Riddler, that was a great costume. Dude, the photo shoot with it was fun as hell.
You of all people, it was a perfect choice.
Yeah, let's get back to how cool Ricky is rather than being such a fucking loser after trying to just lazy recount that story. But yeah, the Riddler, that was cool. Yeah, I was making TikToks for a while, and that's just like, and I want to keep doing it, but it is like, it's just another, it's another time consuming thing, and I want to, like, the podcast just takes up so much time and effort, because just to give you a little bit of insight on, like, what it takes to produce, like, a 20 to 30 minute program, every month we have to start by, our first meeting of the month. And that's basically just catching up with old business, pitch meeting. We have to, pitch all of our ideas. We have to pitch for a cold open, which is the opening sketch, headline jokes, a fake commercial, and, potentially like a correspondent piece. So we have to come up with ideas for scripts. Then after that, you have to, you're in your writing process. You're writing jokes, you're writing headlines. You have to do research about what's going on in the world, right, politically, pop culture, all that. So you could just gain a lot more information for all these, like, because, the monologue jokes that, like, Jimmy Fallon or, late night shows do, that's what we write too. Yeah. So you have to do all that research and writing. Then we have to read what we wrote, go through an editing process. Now we have to write a final script. Once the final script is done, you go and record. Recording can take 4 to 6 hours easily. Wow. Because it's, it's all it's all scripted. 4 to 6 hours. Boom. Now post-production. This is where it throws into my end of the table. As if I'm not involved in all others, but this is when like I carry the load.
Step up to the plate, yeah.
And now you have to call, you have to edit, you have to process. Now you have to find music that goes with some of these sketches. You have to find sound effects. Throw it in there. Edit it all out. Give it to Dustin, who's like, the ultimate. He gives his notes. Apply them. Drop it. Great. It's now, 5 days into the next month. Just finished this episode. Time to get back into it. Time to get back into it for the next one.
It's a rigorous process, but hey, I'm sure it will be rewarded at some point.
I believe it.
I believe in that.
I truly do too.
You get what you put in.
Absolutely. And the people who do listen to it, I do get a lot of like real good reviews. Whenever I show people, I tell people the podcast and they listen to it, I get a lot of great feedback. And I know, I mentioned it, I think, last time, but I'd like to think of it as we're in an archive phase, where we're sort of establishing our portfolio and our work to legitimize that this is a real, consistent program. And I think that's something that you have done with this podcast that I really respect.
You think so?
Is, consistency and doing it. You have, within the year of doing it, you have legitimized yourself. You've legitimized this show as something that is consistent and is something serious. This guy, he runs a podcast. Everyone has a podcast. You know what I mean? But it's those who keep doing it and those who really look for something, look to improve it.
Yeah.
And really, take it, though it's, no matter how fun it is, you take the work seriously. The work itself doesn't have to be serious, but you take the work seriously.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm like, yeah, Mario's got this. And I do have faith in and it's, hopefully within the next year, I start putting more time into making promotional material for it, because that is the worst thing I'm doing.
Right.
But because of doing that show, it's hard for me to pick up, doing TikToks, doing another consistency-based thing, because I'm already doing another consistency-based thing.
Right.
And I just picked up another. I'm helping out a friend making a pilot right now for
really
for a little, not reality show, sort of like a bio, what's the word? Doc, like a sort of documentary style YouTube series.
Gotcha.
And I'm helping produce that right now. That's the new project that I'm picking up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, another comedy project.
Ricky, I will say this: the day you ever have your own show or movie, man, I bet get me in that cast, Ricky.
I'll fight for you. I will please, absolutely fight for you.
Please, just find a role where you need that bigger character. Because nowadays in Hollywood, you know how it is.
Yeah.
You gotta have that look.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be cut. You gotta be skinny. You gotta be lean. You don't really see many bigger main characters these days. Let me think. No, I don't really think there are any. You know what I just saw?
There's a few, a lot of character actors for sure. Guys who, not big Hollywood celebrities. It's not like I can't remember anyone that hasn't been a Jonah. I don't know a Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
I don't know who has come and who's filled in that kind of role after the fact.
I just saw the show You, and I'm all caught up. And everybody in that show just skinny as hell. Mm-hmm. Stereotypical.
And even that one dude who's sort of because his friend who worked at the coffee shop.
Yeah, but even then, he was just a side character.
Yeah, he's a side character, and he's not a big guy.
No,
he's just a little chunky.
No, but I'm not saying we need to glorify bigger people or anything. But it's damn, let's get some.
It's part of life. It's a very real aspect of life.
Let's get a variety of people coming, because man, there are some funny ass people out there.
And they're out there,
there's
and
some
they're
legitimate good ass roles out there. Man, Ricky, you know me. I'll really act it. Give me any role. I'll be a janitor.
Mario. There's no one to convince here. Yeah, I'm sold. I'm absolutely sold.
I genuinely want to be a part of some sort, because I've had some people that go, why don't you go in plays? And listen, I
know Wes wants you to be in plays.
I know, but I have nothing against theater. I don't. Mm-hmm. It's just not my cup of tea.
if you want to practice acting, man, that's your.
I know.
That's
no.
in Connecticut, especially.
Oh my God,
that's
yeah.
your only outlet of being able to practice
I know,
performance. Like
I know,
that.
right? But let's say out of nowhere, obviously this is never going to happen, right? Let's say I had a connection, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just say this connection was like Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
And he's like, and he's like, oh yeah, nope, I found my guy. I'm gonna cast you, and I don't care how long it takes. Like, I will mold you into this role, however long it takes. I'm in. Imagine they're like, I don't know, like the new version of The Godfather. We're recasting it. You're gonna play. You're gonna be like Fat Johnny. You're gonna be Luca Brasi. Like, are you in? Yes.
Oh my! You being a mafia grunt would be absolutely breathtaking.
I'd really, Ricky, like if
you're just a body man for a mafia in a movie. Oh my God!
Or let's say like I just woke up and somebody said, "Hey, we want you to be the next Scarface." Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, man. Before that happens, do you really know if you're ready?
I don't think anyone's ever ready for anything. I don't think I was ready to do a
Good
podcast.
point. Fair point.
Yeah. Right.
Fair point. But those are skills that you need to at least practice or have. You did take that acting class, like have you taken acting?
1 and 2.
Oh, you did. Okay,
yeah,
good.
Acting 1, 2, improv, and then improv with you, and
yeah. Oh no, for sure. Like you're no scrub. No doubt.
Yeah, no. Like I'm not saying like I want like theater is my like I want theater to be, but like any chance if I had, or in terms of like it's like skits like Key and Peele or Chappelle Show. Oh my God, I'm in there.
Mario, we're gonna have to loop back to what we were just talking about earlier in the show about saying yes to opportunities. And how are you gonna? Have you ever been a part of a theater production?
No.
How do you know you don't like it?
Fair point. It's just like it's not my thing.
And the only way you could be able to really throw yourself those opportunities is that you get yourself out there and do them. Like that's the only. And I'll say this.
Yeah.
Because one thing, and you should do it in college, especially because the one reason why I'm not in theater right now is because it is time consuming. Like there is no doubt that it is a time consuming art form, but this is when you should start practicing something like acting, because in film, you're not going to get that time to narrow down your character. You're not going to have this sort of like overarching sort of natural process of finding this person. Yeah, you could be the next Scarface, but the reason why is because Al Pacino did all the hard work for you in crafting who Scarface is. It's a real part of the process. Have you ever been thrown a script, no idea, with no reference, and they go, "This is your person, be them"? It takes practice.
Oh yeah,
it's a real skill. And unless obviously it's like play Mario in a movie. Even then, you're still gonna have to figure it out. And being able, especially when you're still learning, that extra time is really gonna help you. And then you're gonna learn like, the line work. This sort of the homework that you have to do, actually applying yourself. I would recommend trying one, especially if you do want to try to act. If you do want to throw out acting as a skill or something in your future.
I got you.
And like I mentioned, it's like, how do you know until you do it?
No, but here's my thing, right? Mm-hmm. I agree with you, but I kind of disagree, and here's why.
Yes,
it's because there are many more people these days in this generation that find ways to act, but not how you think. Like there's these people I love, RDC World, self-made dudes that just. They find a current trend and they improvise it. They get their friends together and they just make a video.
Yeah, they're the guys that they're LeBron James.
I'm
36.
Yeah,
I'm
like
36.
Like it's something so.
But that's
simple.
not. But that's also skit acting and that's comedy. Like that is all of that is very valid. But in terms of like learning acting, you're not going to learn.
Oh no! I'm just talking about like, let's say like I were to do stuff like that, and then at some point there was so much, and then it was like a funny movie. There's a movie, and they were like, dude, like this guy would be so good for that role. Because some people have actually carved their way into the industry by doing things like that, and they just get like Jordan Peele.
A lot of them are boxed in though.
Oh yeah, sure. But like you take Jordan Peele, who was always a part of that.
Jordan Peele had real training. I'll tell you this.
Who trained, or like to become a director?
Yeah. like he went to school for that kind of thing. I'll give you an even better example. Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah.
His what do you know Keegan-Michael Key best for?
Key and Peele, and obviously Hingle McCringleberry.
Yeah. What do you think of a guy like that? What do you define him as? Nothing special. Just like what kind of work does he do?
I would either say he's an actor or a comedian.
He's an actor and a comedian, right? He does a lot of comedy, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what he originally studied in school? He got his master's degree in Shakespeare.
What?
He got his master's degree in Shakespeare performance.
Keegan-Michael Key.
Keegan-Michael Key. He thought that was going to be his future. And then he got picked up from Mad TV. And the reason, he got picked up on Mad TV, or one comedy thing before that. And sketch was, his moneymaker. And if you really think about the way he performs, like the teacher, the substitute teacher, that sort of intensity, that enunciation, that all that he has that defines that character, you don't think that his voice, his vocal, teaching, his vocal practice and his vocal skills that he got in Shakespeare didn't aid him at all in that kind of thing. Jordan Peele, like he, I'm no expert on him, but like that man received real training. That man received some real education, before going in.
He's a smart dude.
Smart ass dude. And when he started film, it's different because he started film when he was an established player, right? He's the type of guy that can go in directing because he's famous enough where he can hire a cinematographer to create the shots that he wants. Like he could just be creative, right? But when you're like starting up, when you're going up, you got to do a lot of this work yourself, which is why it's both important to like learn a lot of these skills, but also recognize that like you can't do it all.
Yeah.
Like really start honing, not say start, but like learn a lot in like at the, learn, try to pick up like as basics as you can, but recognize like you could really hone in certain aspects.
Yeah.
Like I know how to color grade. I know how to color correct, which is like something you do in film, because you film in log, which is just a flat color profile. All the colors inserted after the fact.
Yeah.
I can correct, but like I'm not a color grader. Like I'm not going to work at a color studio, right?
Right.
I hired my boy Dave who is like one of my best friends who works at that company.
Shout out Dave.
Shout out to Dave. He that's a real thing that he does. And especially in entertainment, like there's so much to it.
Right.
And there's so many different experts in that. Back to what I was originally saying. Jordan Peele had the luxury when going into directing that, he didn't have to like go through like 10 years of making short films to know how to do it. He's just smart, good director, and did enough, production to be able to know how to steer the ship. But he was famous and famous and established enough where he could hire the right guys around him at the same time.
Right.
Do a show. That's the antithesis of this. Do one. Like it'll, and then it's just like even if you never do it again, I bet there's gonna be some. Whenever you approach like a character or a little thing, you're gonna think back to those moments like, oh, this is what like. If I'm really, this is what like real acting. That's what like real acting feels like.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. And
I'll tell you this much: it's so different from TV and working in film because film acting is debatably the most unnatural form of acting there is.
Right.
Because do you know why, or do you know like what I'm picking up on?
I might, but you can go ahead and
it's just like
break it down.
Like imagine, it's like to me it's the most unnatural form of acting there is because like, you're here because acting, for acting in film, acting itself is only half of it. The other half is you're merely a subject for a picture. So a lot of your choices and a lot of things you do are vastly limited just because of blocking and intense shooting, right? So that's one thing. Like you're really just a subject for a picture for a lot of this. The other thing is just to try to be an actor and just have a camera, like 2 cameras, like right at your face, boom mic right over you, and everyone watching like this. And you can do it because you get in the zone. You have that mental palace where you can get in the zone. But it's something to practice, man, being able to like truly know who like you're pretending to be when there's literally every asset of every single way the world is trying to introduce to you to break your immersion. That was what happens in film, dog.
I'll tell you what. Here's what I will. I can't guarantee like Charles Barkley, but I can't. But I will say what I would be interested in trying.
At least in another class. Especially after college, like take a class.
No, but like if you were to somehow like start your own thing, and you were like Mario, like I actually could use you for a couple skits or roles or just like I'm doing this thing. Are you in?
Just I know.
Me a text.
I am never I will never gatekeep you from doing any of the things that I want.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Like that. I would. Oh my God, Ricky! Like that. I think that. You know what I mean? Like I would love to do things where like I'm around. I know. Sometimes you have to break a comfort zone and yada yada yada. But I truly would also be able to do that around the people that I'm comfortable with and the people that I know.
Yeah.
So in that case, I probably would. But
don't worry, I'll remember. I'll certainly remember that for the pod, because that's really more of what I'm doing when it comes to just like sketch or whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, no, don't worry. Like, you're not trying to prove to me. You're trying to prove to everyone else.
Yeah.
And especially like once you get into the to the ocean of the world, you're gonna realize like, oh, for me to like earn my comfort, I'm gonna have to get out of the zone. And for you to really get what you want, especially like in entertainment, like you're gonna have to go out there and meet new people, because there are, because you're not gonna be able to do it alone, and you might not have all the people or the resources that you need right now in your immediate circle.
Yeah.
Like, I with my circle at Central, I completely developed my, like the actor, like the acting world, not completely obviously, but like I have like a good structure of like, and a good system of like actors and talent and just like, like theater live performance people, but they weren't going to be the ones to break me into video production. Like those weren't the people that were around me that can make that possible. Right. I had to venture out into that, and now I've slowly been growing a new system of people who I can contact for this, and for this sort of area of my life that I'm now like enveloping myself in. And now like I love them just as much as I love like my theater peeps back at Central.
Absolutely. No, that's very well said. I'll definitely keep all this in mind. But I asked you, or at least I should say told you, that I was going to ask you 3 things before I got you out of here.
All right.
Do you think you're finally ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with the first one. Let's start with the music, because obviously we love our cinema.
Yep.
Favorite and or album of recommendation to our lovely and beloved listeners and viewers, and if you are, please make sure you subscribe on all platforms. Really
do you release the videos on YouTube now, or do you release the videos?
Oh, did I have you? No, when I had you, it was YouTube as well.
Oh, it was. Yeah, because I know you were just starting the video. I didn't know if
very first episode was audio only. But that was because oh my God, crazy camera malfunction, which was hilarious.
Yep.
But all video is on YouTube and Spotify. You can watch the podcast on Spotify, so be sure.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep, got it on Spotify.
Yeah.
So be sure to check that out.
How long did that take for Spotify to allow that?
Honestly, took like not even a day.
Nice.
Originally
because you apply for it.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah, I was originally using a certain other website to publish and release the audio version of the podcast, but I realized that they weren't the people you have to, or at least the brand you have to be on to display on Spotify. So shout out to Anchor, you're the best.
Anchor. So Anchor, you could do the video?
Anchor, I'm able to do video and audio, obviously for Spotify, and then audio only for Apple Podcasts. Shout out to those 2 platforms, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, but or wherever else you get your podcast. And then YouTube as always. So yeah, it goes everywhere pretty much.
But easily for me.
Yeah. So let's go.
Easily for me with music, because I'm literally wearing some merch from them right now.
Yeah.
If you want to better understand me, just listen to Brockhampton. Brockhampton is my all-time favorite musical group, entity, just, music of all time.
What did you think of their most recent album?
Well, it's 2 albums.
Albums.
Yeah. I have my thoughts on them. It's like, it's funny because I have, Brockhampton is a pop hip hop group, that's comprised of many different individuals from different parts of the world, 2 of which from West Hartford, by the way.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
Don McLennan. Shout out to Don McLennan. Don McLennan, one of the best rappers in the game from West Hartford. He's back in Hartford now.
Wow.
So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. Now he's back at home. But they broke... This year, I took a day off of work, and for one of my floating holidays, one of my holidays that I have off, and I realized that Brockhampton was going to perform at Madison Square Garden on that day.
Whoa.
Totally unrelated to me taking that day off. Super hyped. I'm like, I'm going to go. I'm going to go to that concert. I haven't gone to a Brockhampton concert. I'll buy the ticket tomorrow. The next day, they broke up.
No.
They broke up the next day.
Why?
There is just a lot of controversy within the group. They've been making music for probably close to 10 years together. They produce so much. Like, one of the biggest things that they've done is that they released 3 full albums, like 16-track albums in 1 year.
That's insane.
It's called the Saturation Trilogy.
Wow.
Which I would recommend to anybody who's looking to dive into Brockhampton for the first time. Listen to the Saturation Trilogy. If you want to do them in order, it'll make sense in terms of like how they develop their sound. But Saturation 3 in particular is my favorite album.
Nice. That's solid.
Yeah.
I like the little story behind that.
Yeah, thank you. They're a very interesting group, and they release a lot of music, not in secrecy, but they release a lot of unofficial music.
Right.
So it's like just what you find on Spotify, or isn't even like nearly the caliber of their work. They've done a lot of unofficial releases on YouTube. There's a lot of leaks. They choose not to, like, they've literally done songs. They've done songs with Halsey and Justin Timberlake, and they didn't even release them.
Wow.
Like, these big time names. And it was just like, for whatever reasons, you'll just find out in the future. They just dropped 2 albums last month called The Family and TFG. Oh, wait. It was like, The Family and this acronym that I can't quite remember right now. Mm-hmm. The Family was one guy. His name is Kevin Abstract. He's like the most famous member right now. He, he's very much related to like Dominic Fike. He's, he actually was, I guess, like a creative consultant on Euphoria. He does. Cool. Yeah, he's a cool dude. And he made an album that was just him, and it was basically like a love letter to the group. And he aired out, and usually like the group is like 8 performers. So this was an album just him. So it was like very out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it was like basically like a love letter to the group and why things went wrong. He kind of like threw out some of what was going on within the group internally, was apologizing. He's like, this is how I felt in the last few years. I view everything as content, and that's like a biggest toxic trait of mine. Beautiful sort of, like, I enjoyed that as an album experience way more than I did the other album, which is a lot, it seems like it's a little bit more of like the scraps that they sort of have in their back burner in their catalog. It wasn't really like, it's not really, you can tell there's not as much of like production or chemistry within the group. This is like, let's take these songs that we haven't released and put them in there. But like single for single value, like at first I did not like the album when I listened to it, but now I've been listening to like more of the tracks, and like I'm going to listen to more of their singles like from that album than I will from The Family. But like as an actual album, like The Family is there. Brockhampton, everybody. Give them a listen. They're very cool, inventive, experimental, emotionally honest and vulnerable hip-hop group.
I'm assuming you must have had a ton of Brockhampton in your Spotify Wrapped.
For the last 3 years, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a ton of it. Last year, I was like on the top 0.05%, of their listening, of their listeners. But yeah, they're going to be like in my Wrapped for probably. It's going to be a sad day when they're not in rotation anymore.
Right. No, but that's definitely solid.
And I'm really glad I got the shirt because because they released a lot of merch, and a lot of their merch is trash. I'm not even gonna lie. For being one of the biggest like Brockhampton stands, like I'll be the first one to say that their merch can just be straight up ugly. Yeah. Just a lot of the time. Sorry to whatever Brockhampton member is listening to this inevitably.
Yeah, right.
But like this shirt is pretty fire, so I'm very happy about that.
All right. Yeah. So next thing. Mm-hmm. Show and or movie of recommendation or both. And knowing you, I know you could do both.
Well, I definitely can do both. And I'm going to start off with a movie that I finally was able to watch that definitely makes the bid for one of the best screenplays of all time, and could definitely be argued being close to a perfect movie, and that is Rian Johnson's Knives Out.
Ricky, I am so glad that you said that of all movies. I literally saw that movie for the first time last week.
No way! For Glass Onion, right? Did you watch
No, not the newer one.
Yeah,
the first one.
Well, I know. I just wanted to, because I watched them both in the same day. Like it's not like because that was what motivated me to finally fucking doing it.
Wait, so you were like, okay, I'm gonna watch the first one and then the next one in the same day?
Yep.
So you went to the theaters?
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Don't tell me about that one.
I'm not going.
Wait, but are you referring to the perfect movie as the first one?
Yes, 100%.
Ricky, that movie was insane.
Absolutely.
I honestly thought it was gonna be kind of like a snooze fest. Like, we'll see. Ricky, it was It was phenomenal.
Makes you think.
Phenomenal. Mm-hmm. No, I'm so
especially midway, because for those of you who are not familiar with Knives Out is a modern day murder mystery movie. That's directed by Rian Johnson, who is the director for The Last Jedi, which is the most polarizing example that I can give from his discography. Not discography, but like his filmography. But yeah, it's close to a perfect movie for the audience. I feel like, because
so good.
Before we get, and I'll definitely talk to you about like the nitty gritty of like a lot of like the plot and whatnot, because it's just like a perfect mix of just pure drama seasoned with sensible humor that is just as serious and well constructed as it is just genuinely fun for the audience. That is all completely original. It's like it's a perfect mix.
Yeah,
it's a perfect mix.
And it was a star-studded cast.
Star-studded.
Oh my god, stars left and right in that damn movie. Yeah,
and it just makes you think you're smart enough to think you know what's going on, and then it does not.
Yeah, I believe the person. I believe it was Matt. Shout out to Matt. I had him and Ian on the podcast a couple episodes ago. I believe he also had Knives Out as his movie recommendation.
Let's go.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but either way, he told me to watch the damn movie, and I did. And when the movie was over, I was in awe. I was like, that movie was incredible, so good, in every which way,
and it's so beautiful. Like, yeah, exactly. See Knives Out. You could see it. It's a great movie to watch on your own. It's a great movie to watch like as a date movie.
Yep.
It's all adults. Watch it with the family.
Mm-hmm. I definitely need to see the new one though. Was it good?
It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
It is good. It doesn't match up to Knives Out.
I mean,
but
it's hard to release a thriller and then follow it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's not going to match up to Knives Out. But what it does do is that it just shows how many creative chances like Rian Johnson is willing to make, and is going to show like, if this is going to be a series, like this is going to be like this is going to be like the Blanc Blanc, like the investigator, his name, like Investigator Blanc, I'll call him because that's his last name.
Yeah.
But like, this is going to be like an Investigator Blanc story, like series, like anthology.
Yeah.
Like he's willing to just make like a totally new adventure every time, which like could have its ebbs and flows, but it's all like I'm willing, I'm down for the ride.
Right.
I'd love to see what he consistently puts this guy through.
No, that's nice.
Super fun movie nonetheless.
So let's go show.
I'm gonna target you real hard with this one.
Oh boy.
You ever heard of a little anime by the name of One Piece?
Ricky, you're 2 for 2, Ricky. Are you shitting me? Wait, are you all caught up on One Piece?
All caught up.
Okay, don't say shit.
I know. I know.
Have you added, because I don't know if you've heard, like, I've talked about One Piece on this show.
Mm-hmm. You have?
Yes.
I haven't heard.
Ricky.
Yes.
As we speak, I'm on episode 400 and 63.
Thriller Bark?
No, I'm well past Thriller Bark.
Okay.
I finished, Ricky, look at me in the eyes. I finished Thriller Bark in 3 days, not even.
You're mad.
Madman.
You're absolutely mad.
Ricky.
Also, hilarious.
Funny as hell.
Funny as hell.
I like Thriller Bark wasn't the biggest fan of, but I thought towards the end of Thriller Bark was a lot better than the beginning of Thriller Bark.
Yeah, when Kuma comes through, that's when things get
Ricky,
serious.
oh my God, Ricky, Ricky, no, I really almost cried. Ricky, I like, shout out Rorona Zoro, the absolute GOAT. I don't care. I won't say why, but the absolute GOAT.
Can you do me a favor, and can we like nerd out on One Piece after the podcast ends?
Yeah, if you want to. But I'm on Impel Down. Did you watch it? No. Sub or dub?
You're not on Impel Down.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Okay,
I'm not gonna say what's going on. But
I confused that with Anise Lobby real quick.
No.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna tell you right there, like this.
Do you know where I am? You want to know where I am right now? I could like mute it for like 5 seconds. Or no. You know what? No, skip ahead.
We'll
skip ahead.
No. We'll take it post pod. We'll take it post pod. But I'm gonna say this because you're on Impel Down, which is all gearing up to what people consider like the great.
Did you watch sub or dub?
I'm
on
sub.
Oh my God, so good, Ricky.
Sub is the way to go. It's like unless you absolutely cannot. It's like sub is always the way to go with anime.
My spirit animal is really Monkey D.
Dude, me and you both, brother. Me and you both.
That's really my spirit animal.
That is one of my favorite characters of anything.
Seriously.
I love Luffy. And and I don't want to tell you why because
I haven't had anything spoiled for me, Ricky, at all. I know nothing.
You have to stay. You're staying away from the internet.
I'm staying the course.
If you have any questions that you need answered, ask me.
Okay.
Because then I'll be able to. I'll give you as much of an answer as you want in that moment. Because right now, I'm all caught up. I'm like manga chapter to manga chapter.
Oh, you're a manga boy too, huh?
Yeah, I'm. And right now, we're in the point where it's like that point in any college essay where you're trying to where you spent 9 pages bullshitting and then the 10th page you wrap everything up in 1 page. We're in that right now. A lot of questions are being answered.
Yeah.
A lot of questions are being answered right now.
Yep.
And it's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
I've been watching and reading One Piece since my sophomore year of high school.
That's insane.
I have been with this show for so I was like what 14, 15? Yeah, it's been like 10 years.
My goal is to be caught up by One Piece by April, and I know, Ricky. I know I'm gonna be caught up.
You'll be there
by April.
I forgot, dude, because like at that point it was only 750 something episodes. I will recommend and warn you that the anime is going to take a dive at a certain point. It's gonna
get the graphics or just like the quality.
No, just pacing.
Okay,
it's gonna get slow. So I warn you. But that's
at the same time. I watched.
This is like well after.
Oda got sick, or
no. This is well after where you're at right now. You don't have to worry about that right now. But like 300 episodes down the line, it might get a little tiresome, and I might recommend going to the manga. But like. Obviously up to you.
Nah, I can't do manga. I can't.
Well, I'm gonna force you when you catch up to the anime.
No, I don't like it. It's spoiler. I don't like it.
It's not spoiler. It's the show. It's the story.
No, I want the story as I watch it, not read it.
You
know what I mean? It's like let's say Harry Potter 1 came out, right? The book came out and then the movie, right? And then the second book came out but the movie is gonna come out a year later. At that point, I'm waiting for the movie. You could have the
Listen
book.
to your elders, my son, because I'm going to tell you this right now. 2 reasons why it's going to be, I would highly recommend. This is a when you catch up conversation, which is going to be months from now.
Okay.
And you might learn more till then to be like, I can see what Ricky means.
Okay.
But the first thing is that when One Piece comes to an end, that information is not going to be hidden. You're going to be spoiled. No doubt. Especially like once you start watching the show and you're catching up, and you might like want to keep up with like talking to
When
people
will it
and
be
whatnot.
done? Do you think?
I'm hoping 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Well,
And
I
so
will say
there's
this:
just
I'm all caught up on Attack on Titan. I've been caught up. Like that's, but I know like the manga is done, or
Yeah.
at least it's close to being done.
but it doesn't have that same
got you.
hold
I
and
follow.
like that same whole that same like sort of like media hold that it has, or like media popular not media popularity because it's incredibly popular,
Yeah.
but it's kind of but you're going to there's gonna be things like you're gonna tell me when Luffy doesn't become the Pirate King, you're not gonna know.
Can I ask you when
But I'll say this also, so that's one thing, is that you're inevitably going to be like spoiled. But the second thing is that the manga is better than the anime. Like,
how is that even possible? I don't understand that.
it's content and pacing, but solely that. And there's going to be a point when the anime starts debatably become overwhelming.
No.
That's all I'm going to say. And
Maybe. We'll see.
you don't have to worry about that right now because you're still in the heyday.
I'm still just a baby.
Well, yeah, you're still on the heyday of the anime.
No, but
like,
it's crazy 'cause
of One Piece as an anime, you're still at its peak.
I
You
started-
don't have to worry about any of this right now.
I started in August,
Nice.
and I'm on Impel Down.
I know that's half a year. It's pretty impressive. I was in high school, so it's like different because I didn't have real responsibilities, but I did catch up like 750 episodes in about 3 months.
Yeah.
And now I was like, no life. And not my friend in high school, who was an absolute anime junkie. This was probably around it was around 500 to 600 episodes. He caught up in 5 weeks.
No, I could no. If I'm being serious, I could be by episode. I could be in the close to the 800s by now if I didn't take a break to watch.
Well, yeah, no. If you had no life, and you just
Well,
scarfed
it's
it
not just
down.
that. Either way, I can know life a show, but the problem is I have so many things on my list of shows and movies to watch where I have to, like, somebody pulled me away to watch You. Like, I had to watch You. Mm-hmm. And that's all 3 seasons right there while I'm also in school and doing work and stuff
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. And then there's also Bleach that's out and Chainsaw Man and all these other shows.
Chainsaw Man is my next one.
Yeah.
I have heard 4 completely different people recommending me Chainsaw Man.
It's pretty good so far. But let me ask you, so where does One Piece rank in your all-time shows? Is it in your top 10?
shows.
Shows.
Well,
would
I'm
you
going to be
would you call it? Because like
it's going to be
it's
going to be one of the greatest stories ever told.
Yeah, Ricky, because
The
I
way
get it. You want to separate cartoons from shows, but like to me, sometimes there's just certain animes where it really just takes its own.
well, it's a medium. Like they're not like they're both television, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's just how you're telling a story, right?
Right.
It's based on the medium, but in terms of a story, it's going to be one of the greatest ever told. Just based off of its magnitude.
I cannot wait to show my kids the show.
I think about that too. I can't. It's going to be a really hard day and a really hard time for me when the show ends. Because at this point, this has been a show that's been a part of my life.
A lot of your life.
For 10 years, and it's going to be another 5.
I wish
like
I
when it started, I was a sophomore in high school. When I finish, like I could be, however, like I'm going to be like upper 20s.
You know what's crazy?
I'm never going to have anything like this in my life again. Probably.
Aside from Chainsaw Man, there's never been an anime where I started watching when it first came out. Not even Dragon Ball Z.
Well, Dragon Ball Z has been predated you.
Yeah, no, but like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
like,
I get you.
It's like, oh yeah.
You don't
like,
have a
waiting
day
for that
one. You don't
season.
really have like a day one.
No,
in that sense.
I don't think.
And
I
there's
do.
not many that's gonna have a day one feel that's gonna be as long as like what I have to one. You're still gonna have like a full life with like a good like 5 or so years, especially if you keep up the manga. If you end up just doing anime, and you can do both, but like just anime, you're gonna have like 7 to 8 more years left of this.
Yeah.
Still
Okay.
cool.
That's
Kinda
still
crazy.
pretty insane.
But
Yeah.
but even then,
I'm very glad you brought that up because shout out to
It's
One
a real
Piece,
investment.
man. It's incredible.
It is going to be one of the greatest stories
One
ever
Piece
told.
is bucket list material. Like, there are a select. Obviously, there's definitely millions of people that watch One Piece, but compared to the greater aspect of the world, there's not a lot of people that know One Piece or watch it.
That's
And-
not true. Internationally, it's sold more copies than Superman has. Like, as an
Are you serious?
no joke. Yeah.
Well, either
Like,
way,
it is-
anyone that could say that they watched One Piece,
It's not. It doesn't have the American hold like Naruto does.
No
doubt.
Either
But
way, if you can say that you watched it, start to finish, that is a bucket list
Yeah.
worthy accomplishment. 1,000+ episodes. That's
gonna be
insane.
2,000 by
It
the time
started
it's done
in
for
what
you.
1999, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
give or take, yeah.
That's insane.
But like, dude, in Japan, it's one of the biggest things in Japan. They literally have National One Piece Day.
That's
They have
crazy.
One Piece national parks. Things everywhere. You know, it's literally a cultural staple in Japan.
Wow.
And not many animes that we know it are like that over there, because a lot of animes are like more or less geared towards American audiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, One Piece is massive. It's like I said, if it hasn't succumbed Superman, it is top 3 like comic book style selling novelized series ever in the whole world.
I'm glad you brought that up because I actually didn't know that.
It doesn't seem like that
Shit.
in America. It's like, I'm lucky, you know, there's more people than you think that watch One Piece that don't really know it, but
Right.
it is always nice to run into one.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, last but not least, words of wisdom and or advice, whether it's to your future self, whether it's to the people. The floor is yours.
Well, we did a lot of, you know, we threw out a lot of little anecdotes or whatnot during the podcast, but I think I'll definitely like narrow down and sort of hammer down on 2 of them that I kind of appreciated, which was, you know, like the meaning of life is, you know, the meaning of life is creating it, like create that meaning, you know, find that meaning, you know, and also accept the fact that you don't know everything right now, and embrace the fact that you're only going to grow and understand things as you go.
That was very well said, Ricky.
Thank you, Mario.
It was a pleasure as always to have you on, my friend. We're obviously going to do this again at some point.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Who knows? Mm-hmm. And I'll definitely be caught up by One Piece by then. But like, when that day comes, Ricky, I'm going to be making a lot of texts and calls.
Please. Oh, I would eat it up. Dude, I watched Film Red in theaters.
Was it good?
It was awesome.
Okay. I know nothing about it, so don't tell me.
You don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not. You
Anything
shouldn't.
new One Piece related, I throw my phone if I even see a glimpse of it. No, I'm serious. Like, you think I'm joking?
No, you're good. You're right. You're in the right.
I have avoided like everything. Mm-hmm. I've just found ways to just not be spoiled, and I plan on keeping it that way. And if you try to, I'll really fight you. Like, I'm serious. Like, this shit really matters.
It does.
Because I've taken
you put in
days.
so much investment.
Yes.
There's certain things that I know, and I was pretty good about it, but there was a couple things that, just because I had a friend who wasn't great about it, like, he spoiled me just like a couple things, big things. But just thinking of you not knowing them,
I'm untouched.
it makes me happy. It's like, oh, you're gonna go through a couple. You know, there's gonna be moments in One Piece that are gonna happen, and points that I know exactly when they're gonna happen. That it's like,
Can I ask you?
Absolutely pure.
Is there any heartbreak? That's the only thing I'll ask you. Is there any heartbreak in store in my future?
Oh, you're gonna, yeah.
Jesus, Ricky.
Oh my God, yeah. You're gonna shed a couple tears if you haven't already.
No, I have.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, Ricky. I was a little overwhelmed last night because last night, let's just say it was the way Luffy got to the all women island. Like, do you remember like what happened?
Yes, I do.
Ricky, I was in shambles. Ricky, I was really in shambles last night. I called one of my buddies and I was like, "What just happened?" I was really in shambles, but I'm glad
I'm gonna read the next chapter today.
That's awesome. No, but I appreciate you giving those 10 out of 10 recommendations for both. It's been a pleasure to have you on, my friend. With that said, everyone has a story and it's still being written. I encourage everyone to keep striving and keep pushing. My heart is with you all. And with that said, ciao for now. Ricky Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen.